Welcome to The Tech Ranch, live and local here on Super Talk 1270. The latest gadgets, online security, websites and apps, social media, and so much more. How can technology help you? Let's find out. It's time for The Tech Ranch on Super Talk 1270.
From our studios in beautiful Mandan, North Dakota, along the mighty Missouri River, here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And now, with continuing coverage of the 2016 presidential election. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim, it's the wrong show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So are we going politics-free this hour?
We are politics-free, everybody, so please stay tuned so you don't have to listen to all the other stuff that's going on out there. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about how technology is changing how we shop in retail locations.
Yeah.
And how we order food. And all those other things. Things are really going to start changing pretty quickly here, and we'll go over some examples of what we can expect very soon. At the control panel, producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh.
I was just thinking, remember when people used to say, we're going to be a cashless society someday? Well, we're already more than halfway there.
Do you carry cash with you? I mean, of any
Very
substantial?
Very rarely.
When you travel.
I don't need to.
When you travel, and I think this is a great example of it. When you travel, compare how you traveled 20 years ago to today.
Yeah.
Do you think about even carrying cash with you when you travel?
I do, just for emergencies, because you never know, at the last minute you'll need something, a cup of coffee, or I'll have a sugar rush because I'm a diabetic, and I'll need that little extra carb boost.
Sure.
And I'll grab something from a kiosk somewhere.
So if the purchase. I don't mean to go off topic right away here, but I love this conversation, by the way.
Yeah.
If it's a small purchase,
yeah,
you kind of feel obligated not to use a debit or a credit card, right? You still
not
like to pay
anymore.
cash.
I pay. I was in one of our local convenience stores the other day, and I bought a big bottle of water. I like to have drinking water in the car, a big bottle, and then I refill the bottle.
Yep.
And every once in a while, I throw it out and get a new one just to freshen it up. And it cost a couple of bucks. I use the card. It's gotten to be, people no longer look at you funny if you do.
Yeah, although
they used to. They used to go, you sure you want to use your card for this?
Right. Well, the reason for it is that it costs the merchants so much money because it's usually like 25 cents for that swipe, 25 cents.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah,
I didn't know.
And then a percentage of the transaction. It's usually, depending on who you are, if you're a big box or a small store, you can range anywhere from 1.8 to about 3%.
Well, it's like if you're at the ATM and you're at an ATM that's not from your bank and they charge you for the withdrawal.
Right.
So $20 and it's a $3 fee. All right, give me $40.
Right. That's exactly right, because it doesn't seem as, you're right, that percentage kind of rolls down a little bit. But I was in line the other day and somebody in front of me bought an 80-cent bottle of water. I think they had them on sale or whatever. And pulled out their debit or credit card and paid for it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was just thinking in my head how much that merchant has lost on that deal because they accepted them. There used to be a time, and I still see this occasionally, where they won't accept a credit card for under $10 purchases.
I remember that.
And the reason for that was because of it's weighted so much, that percentage is so heavy on that smaller transaction. But now you have things like Square and things like that they charge like a 2.75% straight fee.
Right.
There's no swipe fee. So as we're getting away from that swipe fee, I think more businesses can afford to, it doesn't matter what the size of the transaction is then.
And I got my new card last week, as a matter of fact, and for the first time I have the card with the chip in it.
Oh, cool.
Where you can just kind of jam it up there in the bottom part of the thing. You stick it in a slot there, and you don't pull it right out.
Yep.
You stick it there and you leave it there until it's done.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I know that, I don't know if I told you this last week on the show, but my credit card was stolen again.
Oh, no.
And so we were on the trip before the last one here. I hopped into our account, and I'm like, I asked Alice, I'm like, did you buy a couple of, because we're buying a lot of we travel a lot right now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I sometimes, but it was from Air Canada. And I'm like, are we going to Canada for some reason? And Alice was like, well, no. And I'm like, well, we have 2 tickets that we just bought from Air Canada. And she actually tracked it down. Somebody had used me and this other person is traveling as a guest.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to find this out because they were traveling on November 5th from Mexico City to Toronto. So I'd imagine they bought 2 tickets, one for me and the guest is the one that's flying, not me, of course.
Right.
So that's how they're doing that. But so anyway, I had to cancel the card, of course, and got my new one this morning as well.
Good.
So with the new chip in it too. So it'll be fun to try that out. So when you go shopping, Jim, do you have any pet peeves?
Pet peeves. Well, I just don't like waiting in line.
Okay.
And, certain stores with the cutbacks we've seen in the last few years in staffing at a lot of the certain big stores, the mega stores, it seems like they always have a lot of checkout facilities available, checkout places available, but not a lot of them are open.
Right.
And I always wonder, why can't they bring more people up here to open it up, speed things along a little bit?
So do you are you one that the last couple of years now they have these self-checkout spaces? So do you use those?
Absolutely.
So you're not.
The alternative is waiting in line. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have like and I'm just curious about this too because I see people all over the place on this. Are you one that'll use the self-checkout if you have like 5 or 6 items, but if you have 40 or 50, if you're shopping for the week or something, you'll go through the regular checkout then, or do you self-check everything?
I will, although my wife and one time I went shopping with my wife and we got a bunch of stuff and she insisted on doing the self-checkout because the lines were real super long elsewhere.
Right.
And, we got everything through and we got out of there and we didn't set the alarm off or anything.
So I see more and more people doing that. I know the other day I was at a super center and same thing. I mean, the lines were long and the self-checkout area was moving along pretty good. They got 8 or 10 of them in there, so they move along pretty good. But people were doing large baskets of stuff. Usually when I use self-checkout, it's just because I have just a handful of things. And it's
the 12 items or less, or whatever.
Exactly, because it's pretty quick. So, but that is one of the technologies that these stores are using, and one, not to get so much into politics, but of course, one of the reasons that technology is really becoming prevalent in these type of scenarios is because there's a lot of talk about moving minimum wage to a $15 rate.
Right.
And as a result, the only way that a lot of these companies figure that they can compete is by offering more technology.
Yeah.
And they're going to get rid of some of these jobs because of it, So
you mentioned the McDonald's thing where they're going to have a kiosk in some of the stores.
And after the break, we're really going to get into that because I actually was able to use one of their kiosks here just in the last couple of days. So I thought that was kind of cool too. But let's just go to break. And after the break, everybody, we'll talk about the new McDonald's self-order boards or kiosks, as well as the way that you can order on apps. So come on back.
Right now, 49.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank all the listeners who follow us on the Blueberry Network, the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. We're on the Roku, we're on iTunes, and of course our own app, Radio Pup. So all kinds of places that you can catch the show live or listen to a rebroadcast of it a little bit later on. We're also on YouTube, aren't we?
Very good. Yes, we are.
Yeah, I know that you post it on YouTube every week as well.
Well, if you go to our main website, supertalk1270.com, we have, we call them podcasts, but actually, technically, they're on YouTube.
Right. So, yeah.
We link everything right there from the main site.
Absolutely. And everything that we do over here at Supertalk is all right there on the Supertalk channel right there on YouTube. So, yeah. So, of course, we're having our election-free show. We're not talking politics here at all, with the exception of how it relates to maybe a little bit of technology. And we were just talking about basically how retail stores, restaurants, whatever, are changing the way that you're going to be shopping in the future. And it's pretty cool stuff. McDonald's. So 2 days ago, Saturday, we were down in Arkansas and had to make our way back to Kansas City.
Right.
So as we're driving our way back up there, we thought, well, it's like 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we came through this town, and basically the only thing that was open was McDonald's.
Yeah, egg McMuffins.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Actually, I like the sausage McMuffin, one of my favorites, actually. We're going to plug McDonald's a little today. So we walk in there, and Alice, of course, wants a little coffee. So we walk in there, and they have self-checkout kiosks.
Oh.
Now, something we've talked about on the show about the possibility of it happening, and McDonald's has been talking about this for a while, because of the potential of a $15 minimum wage. And the only way they figure they can compete with this to keep their prices in line with where they need to be is by doing something with technology to eliminate some of that staff up front. So basically it was kiosks and one person at the register. So
I think you're going to see a lot of that in the years to come, especially in the so-called right-to-work states where these folks don't have strong unions to collectively bargain and deal with this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So
I would assume Arkansas is like that, too.
I have no idea, but I'm going to guess that you're right.
Most of your southern states are right-to-work.
Okay. So as a result, and I guess I'll go through the experience first. I thought the board was extremely easy to navigate.
Yeah.
I really did. It came up. You could choose if you want breakfast or lunch or whatever you're after, right? If you want combo meals, you just push that little screen. All of a sudden, the selection came up and everything. And they're big. They're probably the boards. I'm going to guess are 18 inches to 20 inches wide by 3 feet tall. I mean, so these are big boards that are there and very easy to follow. And when you're done, you can either pay by credit card right there at the board, or it'll print out a little ticket for you that you go up to the till and pay for it with cash.
Well, there's a chain of convenience stores back where I'm from, the Philadelphia area, called Wawa.
Okay.
And Wawa has been doing this for years. All the Wawa stores, they have a delicatessen area, and you can go and you get sandwiches made and whatnot. And for that particular thing at the deli, they have you don't give your order directly to the guy behind it. You enter your order in on a screen.
Okay.
And you tell them exactly what you want, and then they fix it up, and then they hand it over to you.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because you wonder how they're doing it, but I guess it must be saving money for them somehow.
I'm guessing so.
Instead of actually telling the guy, you put the order in, and then the guy takes the order.
Right.
And then gives you your sandwich.
Well, when you think about this, and I'm one that when I'm ready to order, I'm ready to order. If the person's standing there waiting for my order, I just make up my mind. I'm having an Egg McMuffin.
Yeah,
and a coffee. I mean, so I'm ready to go. Right?
I think a lot of us are like that. We, as we're walking in, we already have a pretty good idea what we want. But now, my wife is the opposite. She'll stand there and go, "What would you like, ma'am?" "Oh, let me see."
Yes. And I see that all the time. And I think this is where the efficiencies of a menuing board, like what you're talking about, these kiosks, come into play, because they can look at that for 5 or 10 minutes if they want to. They're not taking anybody else's time except yours.
Yes.
So that's where I think the efficiencies come in. So like with the Wawa stores, you have the exact same thing going on. You can sit there and ponder what you want to enjoy, and not take up anybody's time behind the counter. So I think that's kind of cool. So I think what's gone on here, though, is government comes up with these mandates or whatever you want to talk about, and industry always kind of adapts to them, doesn't it? So, and I think you got McDonald's thinking about, all right, so how do we combat this $15 an hour minimum wage thing? So this is the first thing. But now they've come out with an app that they're starting to beta test that you can order off the app as well.
Yeah.
So if you're
probably like what Starbucks has here.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So you can be sitting in the parking lot. You don't even have to go in. And I'm going to guess that what's going to go on here is that even the stores that don't have kiosks in them, you can still order off the app. So you can go and you can just look at your screen on your device and go, I want a Big Mac and I want this, and then you can go in and pick it up.
Well, you think McDonald's, as big as they are, I'm surprised they're not already doing that big time.
Well, I think this mandate has pushed them in that direction.
Yeah,
I really do. I think that until you're forced to do something, you start rethinking your business a little bit. This has kind of got that thing in motion, I think. Because you're right. They could have done this 3, 4, 5 years ago already.
Yeah, they could have been totally ahead of the curve.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are different schools of thought on that, whether you want to be ahead of the curve or whether you just want to wait and let everybody else work the bugs out.
Right. So I think it's pretty cool, though. I was impressed with the overall experience. But I am an early adapter to these things, and I like technology. So, I mean, I like the fact that they have these boards and boom, 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 and I could order and away you go. So.
The thing I like about it is with Starbucks, for example, I can put in my order at home, and it's ready when I get there. I can just walk in, pick up my sandwich. It's already paid for and everything because it's set up online to just what you do is you have X amount of dollars in your Starbucks account.
Okay.
and then it just debits the account as you go along, and eventually you have to put more money in.
So how much do you have to recharge it at a time? Like $20?
I think the minimum is like $20.
Okay.
20, 25, I think.
So when you get there, then do they have like a special area that your coffee will just be sitting there with your name on it? So you can just go pick it up and go.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, that little area over on the side where a lot of people get their orders when they come in. You just walk on over and it's sitting right there for you.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So how long does it take for you to go from your home to your Starbucks then?
It's about a 3-minute drive,
okay.
2-3-minute drive, and then I walk right in, and don't get in line, don't get in the drive-through. That kind of defeats the purpose.
Right, you have to go
you're
inside.
To sit there anyway. But go inside, walk right in, you grab it, walk out the door.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So okay, yeah, I love the technology, and you go right back to your pet peeves with this stuff, standing in line.
Yeah,
right.
I do not like to stand or sit in line.
I don't either, and I think that's one of the reasons that some of these technologies, like the self-checkout and these apps or whatever, are really going to become a big deal. So now we're going to move in a different direction here. So Sam's Club, we're not pulling any punches today. We're gonna.
Well, I know Sam's very well. I worked at Sam's Club many years ago.
Okay, cool.
I was one of those guys handing out free samples of stuff.
Very cool. Yeah. So they've come up with an app now called Scan and Go.
Scan and Go.
Have you seen this?
No.
So you put the app on your phone, and as you pick things up to put it in your shopping cart, right? You scan the code on it, the barcode on it, right? And it's checked in. Okay. And when you're done, you hit the total, it pays it, and when you walk out, you show the greeter your e-receipt. You don't have to stand in line at all to check out. You just walk out the store.
And you're standing there with your phone, and it's all on the phone.
All on the phone. You just show that to the person, and away you go. So
beautiful.
So you download the app. It's free. You scan each barcode as you add items to it. If there's no barcode, they actually have a find an item feature, so you can just find it that way too. If the item doesn't have a barcode, you see your running total too. So if you only have $100 to spend, for example, you can see exactly what you have there. Right. You check out and pay in the app when you're done shopping. And you show the e-receipt to the greeter. I think it's genius, actually. And I don't know are you familiar with RFIDs?
I've heard the term.
Okay,
refresh
so
my memory.
radio frequency ID. So these are going to take the place of barcodes.
Right. Okay. We talked about that a long time ago.
We did. And in fact, in Fargo, North Dakota, there was a company called Alien, and they were really this is back 6-10 years ago. I might be dating. I might even be wrong with that, I guess, but they were really on the forefront of RFIDs, and basically the plan was to try to get these down so they'd only cost a couple pennies each, and then they would be inserted into products, like in the packaging or whatever. So then you could go up with the shopping cart full of stuff, and you'd wand right over the top of it, and bang, you'd have your total.
I remember when I went to business school for my master's degree, we talked about that at some length. About they were still. This was about 2 years ago,
right?
And even then, they were still working. It was an idea that they were still working out the bugs on before they could actually put it in a lot of markets.
So a lot of warehouses use RFIDs right now. So like if you're a major supplier to Walmart, for example, you would have an RFID on the crate when it comes in, so they can just scan that way, and then they can add it to their inventory. Okay, so that's where they're using it right now, but they've never really figured out a way to implement it on the retail side of things, because everybody would have to participate in this. It's relatively expensive to do. Maybe not in the long term, but you have a lot of small companies that couldn't afford the expense of adding these to the packaging and raise everybody. So Sam's Club with this app has gone right around the RFID idea. It really has.
They made an end run around it.
Basically, and they're just assuming that, the people who want to use this app, which is, over 60%, and maybe in their clientele it's higher, but over 60% of the country now has a smart device that they carry with them, not just a regular cell phone anymore.
A lot of it's a generational thing, too.
It is. So now they've just gone right around that and said, hey, we're just going to use an app, and people can check out, and you don't even have to go through the line anymore. You don't have to check out at all.
I like that.
I love it too. I'm actually excited to try it. So after the break, everybody will continue our conversation on how how technology is changing how we shop. So come on back.
Right now, 49.
Stay up to date. The Red Eye Radio, overnight on Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
So if you're one of those people that are tired of long lines while you're shopping. Maybe the prices aren't clear on a product. That's the other pet peeve that I have is when I go purchase something, a lot of times nowadays they don't have a price on the product, right?
Yeah.
Or that it's, you look at it and you're like,
or you swipe it and nothing.
You're right, exactly right. So technology is going to be helping you. I mean, we're talking about how technology is helping that shopping experience. So.
There are still a few bugs to work out. For example, this happened to me the other day at one of our local supermarket. Well, there's only one big supermarket chain locally. Right. Well, you have Cashwise and you have Dan's, okay?
Yep.
And they're both about equal in terms of the service. They both have the newfangled high-tech stuff. But you know what I hate is when you get in line behind somebody who may or may not be at fault because of this, but what happens is they have like a piece of produce, like they have a bunch of grapes,
okay,
or they have a thing of bananas or whatever, and there's always some kind of code you have to enter for each specific type of fruit or vegetable,
right.
And for some reason they're standing there for like 5 minutes trying to figure it out, and they finally call the guy, it's this one right? Okay, yeah. I hate that. Depending on the mood I'm in, I could throttle some people over that.
The thing, wow, we're going to get into a lot of pet peeves here, but I love when you're standing behind somebody and they do not, if they're going to write out a check, they don't start writing it out until after everything is totaled up.
Oh, yeah.
And now here comes the checkbook.
Real slow.
And they start writing real slow.
Wait a minute, I don't have a pen. Wait, no, don't give me one. I've got one here somewhere. This one doesn't work. Let me see. I've got another one here.
If I'm writing a check for something, it's like the first thing I do. Here's the stuff on the thing. I got my checkbook out. I got it made out to the company, the date. I got it signed and everything. The only thing I have left to do is put the total in the darn thing.
Well, I was really surprised when I first moved out here because I come from a part of the country where, in terms of your day-to-day activity, it's very rare to actually pay for anything with a personal check.
Right.
Personal checks are for business transactions and stuff you're ordering by mail. That was the philosophy. I've never in my life gone to a drive-through taco place, and paid for drive-through tacos with a check until I came to Bismarck, North Dakota. Now I understand they don't do that anymore.
They don't. Most of them are getting
because they all have the cards.
Right.
And again, if I go to Taco Bell or for my taco fix once or twice a week, I give them the card.
Sure.
No big deal.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. But it is kind of funny, all these little things, these nuances.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah. But I've noticed, though, over the last couple of years that even though you and I are talking about you hate to stand in line, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I've noticed that a lot of people don't complain about it anymore because when they're standing in line, they got their devices out and they're catching up with their emails or whatever.
To look at, something to occupy them while they're doing it. Yeah.
So it's not as big a deal as it used to be, but if you have that option to not have to stand in line, I think most people take that.
I love going to the pharmacy and you get in line. This is going to sound so terrible because I'm not a young guy. You and I, we're getting up there.
Yep, we are.
We're both getting up there. I'm 60 years old. I would not lie about my age. So, another 10 years, I'm going to be the kind of person I guess they're talking about. But you get behind some poor old guy or some old lady and she basically there's some kind of issue with the medicine. And they start talking to the girl behind the counter and they're talking. And I'm thinking, what is this? She's giving her the history of the universe.
Sure.
Everything that has happened since the Big Bang, since eternity. And at some point you hear, and then they fought the Civil War. And there was a Civil War in the North one. Okay, well, what happened then?
And I just want my pain medication. Just let me have it so I can
leave. We mock what we are to be.
Yes, we are.
It's human nature. It's human nature, as the Trump supporters would say.
So, anything else on shopping or anything that you maybe want to get to before we get to our next topic here?
I love the way it has changed shopping by mail.
Okay.
Not only Amazon, but a lot of the places where I shop for things online or through a mail service. Being able to pay for it instantly with your card, it certainly cuts a lot of time off the delivery turnaround.
Sure.
There are places where I used to shop for stuff, and it'd take you 6 weeks before you actually get it because you got to mail them a check. They get the check. They got to put the check in the bank. They wait for the check to clear a lot of times.
Right.
Usually they probably do if they're smart. And then when the check clears, then they go back, and then you go through the whole logistical routine of, okay, this was a product, okay, put this in the mail, blah, 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 blah. Hey, you could have like a month to 6 week turnaround on some things.
It's interesting that you bring that up because there's a whole generation of people that have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's how, if you ordered something mail order, that's exactly how it used to be. And even the early days of the internet, because there really wasn't a clear-cut way to process payments via credit card online. I think a lot of people, and including myself, I remember, when we first started our online business back in, 90, 91, somewhere in there.
Sure.
We accepted checks, and the way we sped up the process is, as at that time, Congress had passed a thing where you could process checks by fax. So we had bought
fax machines were brand new at the time.
Well, they weren't brand new.
Not quite brand new,
But they were relatively new.
They came out in the late 80s.
80s, yep. And so we had bought a piece of software so that you could fax us a check, and we could replicate it on this side and print the check and take it to the bank. So that would speed up that process of them mailing it to us. So that could take 3 or 4 or 5 or days or a week or whatever, just to get the check. So that would really expedite that product being shipped out. And I remember the first day that we started accepting credit cards, our numbers went up dramatically.
Sure.
We were able to do that because people had it was just an easier way to process that online payment.
I remember a time when there was a turnover on credit cards, and you had to wait to make sure that it cleared. You didn't know immediately if you were overdrawn or something. Nowadays, of course, you'd know right away.
Right.
They simply won't. It won't take your card here. But there was a time when you would order something by credit card, and if you were overcharged on the card, again, you'd have to wait 2 or 3 weeks before they got back to you and said, "Oh, there was a problem with your card."
Even if you went out to eat or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they had what we called the knuckle busters. Remember those things where you'd put the card down and you'd go whoomp, right over the top
I
of it?
actually know a guy who still has one of those.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet we have one or two at the
I know.
shop
I think
too.
he finally got the swipey thing about a couple of months ago.
Are you saying he was still using it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
As recently as a year ago,
Wow.
he still had one. He just hadn't gotten around.
Yep. I think in shows, like trade shows.
Guy worked in a mom and pop store.
Yeah.
I won't mention the business, but because
Well,
he's a real good guy, but he just was not one of these, cutting edge kind of business guys.
Well, it's illegal to do that now, actually, because you
really.
Because you're getting
That's probably
all that
why I
credit
had
card
to go
information.
find. Okay.
You have to have an electronic
Yeah, you get the
means
little piece of carbon paper, and you give back to them.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
tear it up or whatever.
You have all their information if you do that, So absolutely.
You go rooting through the garbage. That happened to my dad one time.
People do it all.
Somebody got a hold of his.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the
Absolutely.
dumpster.
Yep. So anyway, so things are changing in the shopping world. Even when you go retail, you're going to see more and more of a blurring of the lines, I think, between internet commerce and the retail experience.
In what way?
Well, I think you're going to, I've seen this in some stores already. They might stock a lot of stuff, but they'll have kiosks that are directly to their warehouse.
Yeah.
So maybe the things that aren't as popular in the local area or whatever, you can order from the warehouse and they'll be there in a day or two.
Like a high-tech version of the old Sears catalog.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
you go to Sears, you don't see what you want. Well, maybe we have it in the catalog.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what this is. So,
and again, back then, there could be a couple of weeks turnaround before you actually got the product.
Right, where nowadays it's just a couple days at the most usually. So, yeah. So some of the other things that while we were traveling that I thought was interesting, so we flew mostly United this last time. Not saying that we fly United all the time, but we're not. We're going to just throw out those companies out there. Of course, they're really adapting. So have you been in a United Airlines or anything that's got the televisions in the seats in front of you? So the
I've
back
heard
of the
about
seat.
it.
Okay.
The last time I flew, the experience I remember, the girl in the seat next to me rented. There was a kiosk at the Minneapolis airport where you could rent movies
in motion
and rent the movie watchers.
Yes,
and she was sitting there watching some movie on it was like a miniature version of a laptop.
Right.
When we got to Philadelphia, there was a store there, and she could just turn
drop
it in.
off.
Drop it off there.
Yep, and those are still out there. Those are pretty cool too, by the way. But the airlines themselves are moving into that realm too. So a lot of the newer ones, or I shouldn't say newer ones, but a lot of airplanes now have been outfitted with these seats that have a television screen in the back.
I've
of them.
heard about it. I've yet to experience that firsthand.
And then you can swipe a credit card, and for $5.99 or $7.99 you can watch a variety of TV or movies or what have you.
Because I always take a book or a book of crossword puzzles or something just to stay occupied during the flight, because I don't like flying.
Right.
I don't hate it, but I'm not crazy about the experience. So I get something to occupy my
Sure.
So I'm not sitting there thinking, what if we crash? What if we crash here? Oh, maybe we'll go into that lake over there and I'll drown.
Best to read. That's right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, United now. So they have on their. So they're offering Wi-Fi on a lot of their planes too. So you can actually
I've
have
heard about
internet.
that. Yes.
Right? So you can actually log into your Wi-Fi with your device onto their Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And if you have their app, they have an entertainment section. You can just tap the entertainment section, and there's a bunch of videos or TV shows. Late movies, that type of thing that you can watch for free on your device. So I think moving forward, the airplanes that haven't been outfitted with television screens yet, I think you're going to see more and more of just log on to our Wi-Fi that we have in the airplane here, and you can watch all these things on the device.
As it used to be, you couldn't do that at all on the airplane. You couldn't, if you had a transistor radio, you weren't allowed to turn it on.
Right. Well, as long as you're on their system, they're okay with it. That's the thing. You just got to go onto their system, and then you can get, if you want Wi-Fi, you pay for or if you want internet, you pay for the extra for that. But all the inline entertainment or online entertainment is just right there. Right. I was really impressed with that, and I actually played with it a little bit. I thought it was really, really good. So anyway, after the break, everybody, will continue our conversation a little bit more on travel tech and the things that we ran into on our latest travels. So come on back.
Right now, 52.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Yay!
Home stretch there, Mr. Jim.
Yeah.
So, what do you use for technology when you travel?
When I travel, basically I take along my phone and my pad.
Okay.
And that's about it.
Okay.
I just do what I normally do with it.
Do you have GPS on your phone?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I hardly ever use it because generally I know where I am.
Okay. So you.
Oh, actually, let me correct that. My wife and I, if we're going, my wife likes to shop and she likes to find stuff on the local classified websites and whatnot, and go around town and buy stuff. And she's got some nice blouses for a couple of bucks.
Sure.
And generally we need directions, and we'll use it for that.
Okay.
That's the one time when we generally use the GPS and the Yahoo Maps and direction, all that stuff.
So do you use any Yelp or Foursquare or anything like that? Like if you're going to go out for dinner some evening or whatever, and you're not really sure where you should go, do you pull those out and look at the ratings or anything along those lines?
Sometimes, not Yelp specifically, but in my case, I'm lazy. I was weaned on Yahoo.
Okay.
So I use the Yahoo stuff. I don't know how reliable it's supposed to be, but generally we don't get steered wrong.
Okay. Very good.
If there's a new Mexican restaurant in town, we'd like to check it out anyway. And before we go, we'll look to see what other people are saying about it if it's not so new that nobody's entered yet.
So what about hotels and things? Are ratings important to you there? I mean, when you look at if you're choosing between 3 or 4 hotels and will 4 stars on one sway you over 3 stars on another type of thing for ratings?
I have done so little traveling in the last few years that it literally has. I haven't done that kind of traveling since a lot of this stuff came into existence. Okay. So if next time I travel, it will be new for me.
I would say that for me, it's probably the number one reason I choose a place. Outside of price.
Yeah.
But if I'm choosing between 3 and 4 places at $100 a night, for example, and they're all within where I need to be, I'll usually pick the one that's got the higher rating on it.
Well, generally, if I'm going to like a business, like a seminar thing or a weekend business powwow, usually they'll have things set up in one specific hotel, and you can get like a package deal where you get a room in the hotel. If I'm shopping around for hotels, mainly I'm concerned about safety and the price, of course. I don't want to get in a crappy part of town. Every town has its hotels in the crappy part of town.
Right.
And I'll, just the general service just to make sure it's not, even the good chains they have the occasional rat hole.
Oh,
out
yeah,
there
absolutely. And
that you want to avoid.
Yep. So,
and like, don't go to the so-and-so in Atlanta, Georgia. It's a real dump, Go, but the one in Louisville's okay. That kind of thing.
Exactly. So I'm just curious now. You said that earlier you actually purchase a lot of things online.
I do.
Do ratings help you there? I mean, do you
a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, generally, if I have my mind set on a certain book, I'll know something about it going in.
Okay, so you
and
don't. You're
I may
not
or
concerned.
may not glance at the because a lot of times it's very subjective.
Sure.
Like if I'm buying a book by a certain political commentator, of course you'll get people who disagree with that commentator, saying, "Oh, he's full of beans. He doesn't know what he's talking about." Well, and maybe I kind of know that going in, or I kind of know he's obviously going to say things that some people don't like, but I want to see what this person has to say.
Right.
So I'll buy it anyway.
Interesting. So most of your online purchases then are generally books and that type of thing, or do you
generally books? I'm a bookworm.
Okay.
I am pre-McLuhanite enough that I actually still like to read books. I love the books on tape. There is a service called Audible.
Yep.
And this is not a commercial for Audible, but I subscribe to that service. It's very inexpensive, and every month you get one free download that's included in your subscription.
Okay.
And these are actual books. I mean, full. They'll tell you if they're not. You do get some abridgments, but they'll tell you if it's an abridgment or if it's the full book. Generally, I try to get the full book on a lot of this stuff.
So if you don't mind my asking, what does it cost for an Audible subscription?
I'm thinking it's like $12, $13 a month.
Okay.
Not that much.
And you get one Audible book a month with that?
And you get one download a month with that.
And then once you have it, it's yours to keep, right?
Right.
So you can play it back 2 years
you
from
can
now.
play it back anytime.
Okay.
And just keep it right there on your pad, and you can access it through your pad.
So what happens when let's say you get through that book early in the month and you want to listen to another one? Do they have a discounted rate if you want to download another
Sometimes.
one? Okay.
Sometimes. From day to day, it's a different deal. And they will update you. They have my email address, and I say about 2-3 times a month I'll get updates from them about deals. I have a wish list. You can do that. You can come up with a list of books you would like to get.
Okay.
If there's a sale on one of them, or if the opportunity comes where they're giving out free downloads for a certain type of book, occasionally they will, and they will tell you, hey, one of the books on your wish list is available for such and such a discount this month.
I see. So are you able to stream books anytime you want to? I mean, so you don't have the download feature. You can just go in and say, hey, I want to listen to this book today, and then it's just part of or do you have to download the book?
Oh, with Audible, you do download. It takes a couple of minutes depending on the length of the book. I think the longest download I ever had was like 10 minutes. It was like a big tome. It was a history book.
Okay.
And it was like 600-700 pages.
Gotcha.
Most of the books I get are generally shorter than that, and the download is not nearly as long.
Okay. Interesting. So do you subscribe to any other services when it comes to books?
Not
Amazon
currently.
Or anything?
Not currently. I allow myself that one, but we're kind of on a budget right now. We're dealing. I'm not going to get into a big thing on the air about this. But I'm still fresh out of college.
Sure.
And we're still dealing with getting the student loans and all our ducks in a row for all the debts we incurred when I was not working. When I was working part-time to go to school full-time.
Sure.
But the bottom line is we have that one, and I'd be open to some of the other services in the future.
Interesting. So do you have a Nook or?
We have Nook. We have Nook and Kindle both.
Okay.
Because when I first got it, we got the one, which is the one that Barnes & Noble has.
I think that's Kindle.
Originally, my wife got me
I take
the
that
Kindle.
back. Amazon Kindle is...
okay. So it's a Nook.
Barnes & Noble. Yep.
Whichever one you get from Barnes & Noble,
right.
the pad.
Right.
My wife got me the pad one year for Christmas, and I did use it. I read some books that way, and then I left it in the car one day on a hot summer's day, and the sun melted it, basically. I'm serious. But what I found out then was I could also get it through my smartphone.
Oh, yeah.
And my pad. I could do it that way. So I never really needed the Nook pad again because I had my regular pad on my smartphone.
So do you read a lot on your smartphone?
Mostly, I like the books on tape. I just seem to be an audio kind of guy, a guy who, in terms of data input, I like to listen to things. It seems to stick with me better that way.
Interesting.
But I do read books.
Okay.
I do read as in reading them.
Right.
I'm a fan of Barnes & Noble and those types of bookstores. When Borders was in business, I lived at Borders in my hometown. That was a great place, too. And so, I'm a bookworm. I am a bookworm.
That's cool. That's cool.
I've got 1,000 books that I've read about halfway through, and I have to finish. I'm one of those guys. I'm very impatient. I like to tell people I have read the first 100 pages of every book ever written.
Well, you're very knowledgeable, so
Thank
I'm
you.
guessing that's why you have...
For all the damn good it's done me.
Yeah,
oh,
no
hello.
kidding. Yes, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Being
That's
silly.
okay.
Being
So, anything else, I guess, as far as... I know we got off topic there a little bit. The Disney Cruise app is the other one that I was kind of interested. When I was traveling here, we actually spent a couple days on a Disney cruise.
Yeah. How'd it go? You hear these horror stories about cruises, you hear about the Disney cruise specifically.
Of course, I was a little injured, so I didn't get to partake in everything. But
you hear that they're floating roach motels and all this stuff. I don't know if they are or not.
And maybe others are, but I have to say that not to we're giving all these companies plugs today, of course, but Disney's cruise line was amazing, and their app was wonderful. It was able to keep us informed with everything that we had going on. So
we got about 30 seconds here.
Okay, all right. Well, then I guess that's it. So, Jim, have a great week.
We'll have to follow up on all this.
We'll have to do that sometime.
Absolutely.
So, pleasure as always, Jim. Everybody have a great week.
Thank you.